welcome to the Rosé Forêt YouTube channel. Today we are going to be starting our new influencer interview series. I started off this interview with Mint Kismet, or Elle as we know her, and this interview was super important for me to do and super cool because Elle is one of the founding members of our community. She's played a huge role in the Colorado community, and now she's obviously modeling with Innocent World and running her shopping service and doing amazing things in Japan. So it's really awesome to touch base and get to speak with somebody who has made such an impact on the Lolita and J fashion community. Now, without further ado, let's get into that interview.
We can start off by you explaining what you do and who you are.
Ooh, what do you
You do a lot of things, as far as I could tell.
Yeah, so I'm Elle, otherwise known as Mint Kismet. I live in Osaka, Japan. I've been here almost 5 years now.
Wow.
I've been wearing Lolita for just about 15 years. It'll be 15 years in April.
Mm-hmm.
So here in Japan, first of all, I'm the main admin for the Kansai International Lolita community.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, haven't really been doing anything recently, but we used to have a meetup every month. But not recently. But I also run a shopping service called Mint Kismet Shopping, specializing in Lolita, but I can buy anything as long as it's not illegal to ship.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
There are some surprises that you can't ship right now.
Oh, yeah, especially now.
Yeah, like we can't ship food at all. So
that makes sense.
Food products. I can't ship clothing that is made with like animal products.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can kind of get away with things if it's like a blend or something, but with leather shoes or leather bags or something, I can't really send. So, yeah.
Is there a reason for that?
I think it has to do with like, to America and Australia and a few other countries, I have to use a courier service rather than like the government postal service. And they have a lot stricter regulations as far as like customs go.
Oh, okay.
I think it has to do with like they do the brokering for you to get it through customs, and it's a lot more work to do it for like leather products. So I think
interesting.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the reasoning is, but there's like a lot of different regulations that I keep learning about, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I can't ship this right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds complicated.
It is very complicated. They even added some new restrictions this month. So.
Oh, man.
Yeah, constantly learning new things. And I also work as a model part-time here in Japan. I mostly do freelance work because working with an agency it pays less and it pays very slowly. You don't get paid till like 2 months after a job.
Oh boy.
So whereas freelance work I get paid right away.
Yeah.
But including I am a regular model for the Lolita brand Royal Princess Alice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The pictures that you post are just beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I remember seeing your post about posing. That viral post, totally yeah. It's honestly, I think about the like tongue to the top of the mouth trick all the time. Anytime I'm taking a picture of someone, I'm like, oh, if you put your tongue to the top of your mouth, it'll like help.
That one I actually learned from America's Next Top Model.
Really? Oh my gosh, I love that.
I have learned a lot of neat tricks from that show.
It's a classic.
Yeah, unfortunately it became garbage.
Yeah, it's definitely aged quite a bit.
Yeah, it became like very drama focused after a while. And I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
no, I just want to learn about modeling.
Yeah. So how did you get into modeling? It sounds like you've been interested in it for a while.
So I actually used to really hate getting pictures taken of me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very shy. It doesn't come across that way, but I am extremely shy. And as a kid, I was always that kid, like, no, can't take pictures of me, I would run away. And then I got into Japanese fashion and kind of started documenting my outfits and posting them on LiveJournal back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then when was that? 2009 or so, I started dating a photographer.
Mm.
And so he was like, can I take pictures of you? And so I started kind of doing some photo shoots with him, and that was fun. I was like, okay, if I'm comfortable with the photographer, like this is actually enjoyable. And I kind of started feeling like I could pretend to be a more confident person on camera. And I really liked that my shy, self-conscious self doesn't really come through in photos. So I could kind of become another person that I wanted to be, but I haven't been able to be like in real life because like social anxiety and stuff makes it really difficult. So then I did my very first fashion show. It was actually in Colorado. It was just like a volunteer, anybody who volunteers gets in type of thing for the store Gimme Gimme Pillow Toast.
Oh
they
yeah.
don't exist anymore, but
I remember them.
yeah, so that was like, I don't know, I think it was like 2009, 2010. And that was a lot of fun. I was like, this is my first time on a runway, and I really enjoyed it. And so then after I moved to the West Coast, I moved to Oregon. There are a lot bigger conventions and stuff over there. And I applied to model for Angelic Pretty at SakuraCon in Seattle. And I was chosen. And so that was like my first time doing something for a Lolita brand. And it was a lot of fun. Like, it was really tiring and really difficult. Like, I perpetually feel like I'm not good enough. And so the whole time I was like, oh, I'm not as cute as the other models, or oh, this is wrong. Or like, I remember during the fitting, I was chosen to wear the Romantic Rose Letter one piece, and Maki's like looking at the sleeves and like, oh, they're so big, like this isn't cute. And
oh man,
it just meant like the fit was wrong, but it made me feel like I was wrong. And like that's just the reality of modeling, is like you're just a doll and they're not really paying attention to you as a person. So like you can't take anything personally. Like, she just wants her clothes to look good.
Right.
You know? And so that was like my first experience, like really doing something bigger. Which overall, it was like a really fantastic experience and I really enjoyed it. So I continued to apply to like events and conventions whenever I could. So then I modeled for Innocent World at PMX, and also for Coco Kim when Kimura Yu came to Portland for an event. And actually modeling for Kimura Yu's brand was one of the things that really got me into my current gig, Royal Princess Alice. She was the spokesmodel for Royal Princess Alice for a while. And so she would do events at Kara Shop in Osaka a lot because the designer for Royal Princess Alice, Aito-san, was the manager for Kara Shop. And so like I would come just to say hi and would like take a picture with Kimura Yu, and I went to one tea party, and like I would just come and talk to Aito-san a lot.
Mhm.
She was really nice, and Kimura was like, oh yeah, Elle-san, she modeled for me in America, and that's how we know each other. And so like she told Aito-san that I was a model, and after that, Aito-san kept asking about my project and like, oh, what are you modeling? And at one point she was like, oh, you should model for Lolita brands. And I was like, okay, but what if I model for your brand? But I didn't say that. And a little while later, she messaged me, not a little while, like a year later, she messaged me on Twitter and she was like, hey, can you come by the studio? I want to talk to you about a project. And at this point, Kara Shop had closed, and she opened up the Royal Princess studio. So I went there and she was like, I want you to become one of my regular models. And it took a while for like everything to get rolling. Like the time period between first meeting with her and then like first doing a shoot was almost a year. And then almost another year after that before I started like attending tea parties as a guest. So it was like a very slow process. But yeah, now I'm a regular model at every tea party. I don't do print modeling as much for them because she says that I look too much like a real Final Fantasy character. These models. And so like I stand out too much. Yeah, she always calls me
she's like, you're too striking.
Yeah, so.
You're gonna outshine everyone. That's what I take it as.
But like, you know, my anxiety-ridden self like the whole time was like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to do modeling. And then finally she told me that, and I was like, okay, that's, you know, a much better reason.
Yeah.
Than, like, not being good enough.
Yeah.
Like,
has it helped your confidence, do you think?
I mean, I'm definitely more confident than I was when I was younger, but I don't know how much of that is like the modeling and how much of that is my age.
Oh yeah.
But
and just life experience.
Yeah, like who knows why? But I'm definitely more at ease with myself in general. Nowadays, I feel like when I model, it's kind of like putting on a persona. It's really similar to acting, I think. Yeah. The person on stage or in photos or at a tea party, like that's not the real me. You know, it's very like customer service based type of thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, when I'm talking to guests at the tea party, it's very fake surface level. You know, I have to be nice and cute and like that's my job.
Yeah.
So it gets kind of difficult because then I'll see attendees like outside of work and they will expect that same person.
Oh yeah.
And like actually my real self is very, very shy and like reserved and doesn't really like to talk to people. So
yeah,
it can get kind of difficult. Like I kind of have to be on anytime I see people in public.
Yeah.
So
does that happen a lot?
Not so much recently, just because people don't know so much, but it did happen quite a bit. And I would like attend events as like an attendee, like a paying attendee.
Yeah.
People would be like, is it okay to take pictures with you? And I'm like, I'm not working. This is just normal me. Of course, we can take pictures together. You don't have to like pay for pictures with me.
I think that's interesting. Like when your hobby and something you enjoy, like in your regular time, becomes like also your job. Has that been hard to navigate?
Yeah, it kind of makes me really uncomfortable
Mhm.
having like fans or whatever. I don't know. I consider myself like a very normal person, but
Mhm.
I don't know. There's a few people who like really are big fans, and
Mhm.
it's kind of awkward for me.
Yeah.
And like last time when I was in Tokyo, I hung out with Midori that day, and like we went to Shinjuku, um, the Marui Annex where all the Lolita stores are.
Mhm.
That was an interesting experience. Like we go to Kara Shop and they're like, "Can we take a picture of you guys for our Twitter?" And I'm just like, I feel very weird. But
I feel like I would be the same way.
yeah, I was like, so this is what it's like for you, like every day, Midori. Like, but yeah, it can be awkward. Kind of almost pushes me to hang out with my foreign friends even more,
Mhm.
since they don't see me as like some famous person.
Yeah. That's a good point too.
Yeah.
How has it been living in Japan?
Um, I mean, I love it here.
Mhm.
I definitely prefer it over America. Um, it helps that I'm pretty proficient in Japanese.
Yeah.
And actually, that's something modeling has really helped me with, is my Japanese level has become a lot better.
Oh yeah.
Because like nobody really speaks English. So,
Mhm.
um, and like there's a small but like decent foreign Lolita community here. Um, the hard part is that people are always coming and going.
Yeah.
Like we get exchange, not this year, but exchange students who are only here for like a year. And a lot of people have moved from like Kansai area to Tokyo area.
Mhm.
So I'm like one of the longest standing people here
Oh
now.
wow.
So
Do y'all have a tight-knit community then?
yeah, I would say so. I mean, like at this point, gosh, I'm trying to think. There's only like maybe 3 or 4 of us who have really been here for a while,
Mhm.
like a decent amount of time, um, that still live in like Kansai area,
Mhm.
but we haven't been meeting a lot, obviously. So
Yeah.
like I'll see my friends occasionally at like places where like it's fully masked and everything, but
Mhm.
yeah, no tea parties or anything.
It's the worst. I've just been commiserating about the pandemic all day. It's the
Yeah.
worst. um, so kind of going back to when you were talking about how modeling's helped you get out of your shell and stuff. Has J Fashion done that for you as a whole? Like, do you have that same kind of connection?
Absolutely. Like I first started wearing Lolita and J Fashion when I was 17. Um, and like it gave me an outlet, I would say, um, as like a very shy, quiet, um, in a shell type of person.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't have a lot of friends, and the friends I did have, like it was a love-hate relationship, you know.
Mhm.
I dealt with a lot of bullying in growing up, and like J Fashion helped me meet a lot of people that
Mhm.
like I've been friends with still like for
Yeah.
15 years, and like it became helped me become more comfortable with who I am, like both inside and outside.
Mhm.
One of the main things I was bullied for was my size.
Mhm.
I was really severely bullied for being really thin, And this was a huge source of anxiety for me. People still say it, but like people would accuse me of eating disorders all the time, and it's not true. I've just always been tiny, and like Lolita fashion helped me find clothing that like was easy to adjust for my size, like with lacing and everything. And it's still hard sometimes because certain things just make me look like a kid dressing up in her mom's clothes. But Japanese clothing fits me a lot better than Western clothing does. Like I didn't get out of kids' clothing until 8th grade, and like I still only fit junior sizing.
Wow.
Yeah. So in Japan, I can wear actual clothes for adults.
Yeah.
So that's been really nice. Like, I know a lot of people have the opposite experience with Lolita.
Yeah.
Making them feel bad about their body type or size. And actually for me, it's been quite the opposite, strangely enough. I was also really bullied for being super pale, which is also a good thing here.
Yeah.
It's really helped me like become more comfortable with who I am.
Yeah. I feel the same exact way. I think a lot of people do. How did you become interested in J fashion?
Oh, I mean, it was a really long time ago.
Yeah.
But I first got into visual K when I was like 14. And I was really into like Duran Gray. And I got really also into On Cafe. They're also still my favorite. But and my freshman year of high school, or was it? No, it was beginning of my sophomore year. I did a speech in my speech class about like Japanese fashion. And the way that like I really found it was back in the day. This was before YouTube even existed, on like Spotify or anything. And we used to get our music via not so legal methods, like wire and.
Oh, I remember that.
So, like, while I was looking to download like Duran Gray or Malice Miser or something, I came across this website that was like all about visual K or whatever. And obviously Lolita fashion is very much related to visual K, particularly Gothic Lolita, since Mana is like the god of Gothic Lolita, and he was the creator of the Gothic Lolita Bible. And so like on this website they also talked about Lolita fashion, because they were like, oh, Mana woman Watier, and like so it's like a very obvious link. But through this website that I was looking for visual K music through, I found Lolita, and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And so I did more research on it, and information was really sparse back then. This was like 2004, 2005.
Wow.
Or maybe even 2003. But it was really difficult to find information, and it was nearly impossible to like actually buy it.
Yeah.
At the time, I don't think Meta had even started shipping overseas. I think they started in like 2006 or so. And so I was just kind of like an admirer from afar. And then in 2006, my dad took me on a business trip with him to Japan. So I got to go to Tokyo for like 5 days and insisted on going to Harajuku on Sunday. And this was 2006, so people were still like hanging out on the bridge, and it was kind of the heyday of Japanese fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like a really, really cool experience. And I went to Closet Child, which I didn't even know what Closet Child was. Like, I didn't know that it was used clothing.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew that it was like, I just saw it when we were walking along Takeshitadori, and I was like, oh, they have Lolita clothes. Like, I want to go look. And I ended up buying a skirt and matching socks there.
Oh.
And that was like my very first piece. And looking back, I'm like, oh, I wish I knew more about Lolita so that I could have like gone to La Foret. And
Yeah.
but I was just kind of clueless. It was so hard to find information.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah, I didn't even find the live journal community until like a year later.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very much on my own for a while.
Yeah, that sounds. I got into just slightly after that, around 2007, 2008, and even then, it felt like information was sparse.
Yeah.
Compared to now, there's like so much.
I know.
It baffles me.
Newbies these days don't know how good they've got it.
Exactly. They don't understand the sadness of trying to use all the Google Translate to figure out what terms you're even looking for.
Yep. Back in the day, like Facebook didn't exist, YouTube didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
It was all live journal.
Yeah. How did you, so I know you played a part in like the beginning of the Colorado community, but I've never heard the story. Like how did you all start it?
So actually it existed for a few years before I joined.
Oh, cool.
Live journal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was a live journal group that have you met Janora?
Yeah.
She started it. And a couple other people. So she was like the leader of it on live journal back in the day. And I went to my first meetup through live journal. I actually met Janora at NDK in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
What year was that? 2008? No, 2007. No, it was 2008. That was my first NDK, and I met Janora for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
2008. And I was like, oh, there's like actually a decent sized community. Like, I had no idea. I was so clueless. And so she invited me to the live journal community, and I went to a couple meetups.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, Facebook started becoming popular around like 2008 or something. And by this point, like most live journal communities were making Facebook pages. And so Janora was like, hey, I don't have time to do this. She talked to me and Raven about making the Facebook page, and we were like, yeah, sure, we can do it.
Cool.
Me and Raven had been doing like all the panels at NDK, Lolita fashion. So we were like, okay, because we're kind of like the face of the community right now. And then groups became a thing like maybe a year later. So we created the group after that. So it was kind of, it had existed for a while on live journal, but Facebook made it a lot easier for people to connect.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of communities around the world would probably say something similar. Where like they kind of existed in a small capacity on live journal and then got a lot bigger once Facebook was a thing and it was easier to find.
Yeah, I definitely think that Facebook's played a huge role in the growth of Lolita.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people find it through there. I'm always like, oh, I should delete my Facebook. And I was like, I can't because the community, like, that's where we exist.
Yeah, like all events are on Facebook and all the groups and everything. And even like Lolita updates is really nice to be in. And
yeah, for sure. What is the Japanese Lolita community scene like?
Everything is pretty much on Twitter.
Okay.
So Japanese people don't use Facebook a lot in general. A lot of that has to do with like privacy issues.
Yeah.
Since Facebook requires you to use your real name.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of Japanese people don't like using their real name online.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want like employers or whatever to find them, especially if they're into a weird hobby like lolita.
Oh, yeah.
So they pretty much stick with Twitter, and Instagram is also pretty popular.
Mm-hmm.
But like all the brand shops have Twitters, and like all the events that go on have Twitters, and you go to a tea party or whatever, and everybody asks for your Twitter.
Oh, okay.
You have a Twitter, and then you like add each other on Twitter, and that's how you keep in touch, is via Twitter.
That's so interesting. I feel like the Western community does not use Twitter very much at all.
No, like I have a Twitter, but I tweet almost exclusively in Japanese, since the vast majority of my followers are Japanese. Also good practice.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like Twitter a lot, so I think it's a neglected platform in the Western community.
It really is. It's nice for like photo sharing, and, like information spreading, and it's chronological.
Yeah, that's my favorite part.
Yeah, and not too many ads.
Yeah.
Like really inobtrusive.
So true. So speaking of photos, I love all of your photos that you post, and especially your style. So I would love to know what inspires your personal style. Like, what do you look at to put together coordinates and stuff?
I mean, when I think about what is my style, I don't even know what comes to mind. Like, I don't know what people consider to be my style, because I'm kind of all over. I wear sweet Lolita and classic Lolita pretty equally these days. And I'm like obviously really into old school as well, since that was the Lolita I fell in love with. I don't really have specific inspirations. Like, I don't know. When I put together a coordinate, there's either like a theme for the event, or there's a certain dress that I just got or haven't worn in a while. And I kind of piece things together based on that. Like if I'm going to an event that is like spring themed, then I'll choose something with florals and I'll go along with that. I think it helps that I just have a lot of cohesive accessories to piece things together. I don't know. I know it's like the worst answer, but I just kind of go with how I feel about like, because something will technically match, but then when I put it up against the outfit, I'm like, no, like the feel is off.
Yeah.
And it's something that you can't pinpoint at all. Like, I'm so bad at describing why a coordinate feels off or is right.
There's something about it.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
I used to be like really active on Gaia back in high school.
God, I love Gaia.
Oh, embarrassing past.
All the outfits you could put. Oh, that was my dream.
So like my forum was the Avatar Talk. And we were like so elitist about our avatars. And
oh my gosh.
And so I actually became really known in the Avatar Talk for like very cohesive looks with like not just color matching, but also like the feeling of things, like just an overall aesthetic. And ironically, I feel like my Lolita coordinates also go in that direction, where it's not like just about color matching, but also about kind of matching the aesthetic or the feel of things. So
you learned it on Gaia.
That's really what I think.
Just practice.
Yeah, and I mean, like, to me, it's really an art form.
I agree.
coordinating is one of the things that makes Lolita fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I see people being like, I need help finding things that will coordinate with this dress, I'm like, no, you're taking all the fun out of it. This is the fun part. Like,
Yeah.
I know not everybody feels that way. But
I'm in the same exact boat as you. I get it.
I'm always like, I don't want people's advice because it's not going to be me that way. And I will nitpick my coordinates and I'll be like, there was something off about this.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing, is that because I can nitpick my own looks, that's how I can improve.
Mm-hmm.
I can look at past coordinates and be like, okay, like this blouse, the collar wasn't quite right for this outfit. Like I think a standing collar would have been better. Or I can, look at the shoes and be like, oh, I think something with a higher heel would be better, more elegant look to it. And like looking back at old coordinates, I can then go forward and be like, okay, I know this didn't work last time, or I wasn't satisfied with it last time, and kind of improve. And I feel like a lot of times you can look at a coordinate, whether your own or somebody else's, and see that something is off, but like not know exactly what is off. And so experience really helps you pick up on those things that can just like slightly uptick the level of your coordinate.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I think the time, like your eye gets better for those really minute details over time.
I really feel like it's similar to like painting or something where like with experience you learn how colors mix and what different brushes will do for your painting, and what different mediums mean. And it's the same thing with Lolita. Like through time you learn what fabrics mix well and what lace looks good together, and style shoe and style headwear matches the feel of a coordinate. And it's really just something you have to get a feel for. And I think that if I were to give advice, it would just be to find coordinates of other people that you feel like hit the spot, like that you really think nothing feels off on this. This is perfection to me. And really study it and decide why all the pieces fit together, why that flow is there.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best thing you can do, rather than focusing on color matching. Or like I think the Western community is way too focused on color matching.
Yeah.
But like, for example, today I'm like, all my accents are green, but my dress has, can't really see it, but a tiny bit of green. But like, I think most people would probably pair this with pink, with the pink roses. But I felt like the mint green made it more elegant and spring-like. Kind of the look that I was going for. Like my idea was, it's late February, so the cusp is between winter and spring. And that makes you think of like this very light green.
Yeah.
When the buds are just starting to come out on the trees. So that was kind of the theme, the impression I'm trying to give for today. And that's kind of like how I go about things, is really just the feel of things.
Yeah.
Then like matchy.
Yeah. I think that's such a good point. Like pulling out those like colors you wouldn't normally think to go for. That's one of my favorite things to do. I love that. I think that's why I like your coordinates so much, because it's like that same thing that I like. You talked about like painting and how it's an art form. Do you have like other artistic interests outside of Lolita?
I used to be really into drawing and painting. Kind of got that killed out of me. I took a really bad art course in college that and I just kind of started feeling like I preferred doing things on my own rather than like taking commissions or like being taught.
Mm-hmm.
You have to draw this or whatever. And then as time has gone on, I like to doodle and stuff, but I just don't have the time or patience really to do anything big.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it sounds like you get
listen.
that like self-expression kick from putting together your outfits. So
Yes,
it's all artistic.
It's really an art to me. Like that's what Lolita is. It's really a form of expression.
Definitely. Do you have other interests besides fashion? I'm sure you do.
I mean, like it is my main hobby and it's my job. So my life is pretty consumed by it. But not before, even still, I am still very much a visual kei fangirl. We call it, in Japan, it's called a bangya, band girl. So I'm very much a bangya, but my band broke up 2 years ago. So I haven't really been participating in that anymore, which leaves a lot more money for Lolita. But I was like, they call it ensei. It's like, what's the word? Pilgrimage. It's where you go to like every single show. And yeah, I'm that crazy. So
that sounds cool to me.
Yeah, it's just like a lot of fun. I've been to a lot of parts of Japan. Been to lives in Okayama and Nagoya and of course Tokyo, Sapporo. So that took a lot of my funding and my time. But now that they've broken up, I'm like, I don't know. I have no desire to like find another band to follow.
Yeah. Well, sounds like a commitment.
Yeah, I've been a fan for like 14 years, so I have no desire to like search for somebody new.
Yeah.
Same.
I totally get that.
So I'm just like focused on Lolita pretty much nowadays.
Still super fun.
Yeah, I mean, like it involves a lot. You know, it really dictates my social life. It's my work in various ways. It's my creative outlet, and it's also clothes. Like, so, I mean, it takes up plenty of time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it's probably good to wrap up.
Okay.
Because I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you're busy, and your birthday just happened too, so happy belated birthday. Yeah. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it so much. And yeah, thank you for taking this time. It's really cool because I met you when I was really young. Like I think 2008, that IndieK, I remember seeing you.
I was so really young.
Yeah, I think I was at that one. At that time I was wearing just a Cora. And I was just really, really in love with Lolita, but I do remember seeing you as a figure in the community, and it's really cool to be able to talk to you. And just like hear your story, and thank you for opening up too about like your shyness. I definitely identify with that as a shy person myself.
It's hard because like I'm pretty decent at public speaking and like have no qualms about it at all. So like I started out doing convention panels and stuff, and that was how a lot of people knew me. And it's like a very different person, you know, up on stage than like face to face.
Definitely.
And a lot of people have trouble reconciling that. So, you know, it really kind of, a lot of people just think I am a bitch. And I'm like, no, I'm just really painfully shy and have like really bad social anxiety.
Yeah.
But
I really empathize with that. But yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
of course.
Cool. And I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. I think I'm going to Kobe to pick some stuff up from AP.
Ooh, fun.
Thank you so much for watching. You can go ahead and like this video if you liked it, and leave a comment down below of any influencers you'd be interested in us interviewing in the Japanese street fashion and Lolita communities. Make sure that you subscribe for more of our content and keep your eyes peeled for our Mystical Tea Garden event happening from April 9th to April 11th, 2021. We will see you next time. Bye.